Hello, this is the Silver Watchman, and welcome to the finale of PixelCraft. It was a really short game, and it was fun while it lasted, even though it's less than an hour long. But before we continue, a disclaimer. If you have health issues in relation to your vision, like seizures and stuff like that, just close your eyes and you should be okay. I'm not going to tell you to turn off the video because that's not fair. Enjoy the video. Just keep your eyes closed so you don't have a seizure, because there's a lot of flashing. Okay, the game's already started, but yeah, there's a lot of flashing lights. Now, this is the finale of PixelCraft. I don't know why I have my lisp is coming out right now. I don't know. And now we continue. In the previous episode of PixelCraft, we talked about joy. Unless that was another series, in which case No. This is definitely we talked about joy in this series. But we never really broke it down. We just kind of mentioned it again and read a couple of verses, and that was about it. So we're going to look up the definition of joy on our handy dandy PDA, Personal Data Assistant. Joy, a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. The verb of it is rejoice. Wait, there's more? Oh gosh, there is more. Okay, let's see. It's a thing that causes joy. Its Latin origin is gaudere, or rejoice, which goes to gaudium, which to Old French goes to joie, and then Middle English is joy. From Old French, joie, based on Latin gaudium, from gaudere, rejoice. It had a peak in the 1800s, slowly went down through the the 1900s, then in the 1950s, right around 1970, 1975, it really took a dip there between 1950 and 2010. So that's going to be around the 1990s, 1980s through like 2000s. And it picked up again after... No, don't do that. No, we're not going... No. Yeah, wow, it really... It took a serious dip in the 90s. And wait, no, we're not making... No, not the movie. Sorry about that. But yes, joy is something that causes happiness, which, believe it or not, is almost a kind of bonus that you receive from the Holy Spirit. Because if you have the Holy Spirit, one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit is joy. Now, I've been trying to find the verse for the past a while. But we're gonna look at a different verse that's in Psalms. This is in Psalms chapter 51, verse 12, King James Version of the Bible. Now, I have a better understanding of the Old Testament than I do the New Testament, which is why it's harder for me to get a particular verse from the New Testament because I spent a lot of time reading and understanding the Old Testament. But onto the verse. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and uphold me with thy spirit, with thy free spirit. With that, we get a little bit of a hint. Remember, Psalms is written by David, King David. The joy of thy salvation, and uphold me with thy free speech. Meaning, when somebody is saved, when somebody becomes saved, the best way to describe that feeling is it's almost an absolute level of relief. And the reason why I say almost is because now that you have the Holy Spirit, you instantly become an enemy to everything that's of the darkness. And therefore, they would do everything in their power to absolutely destroy you. Why? Simple. You belong to God now. And if you belong to God, that means you don't belong to Satan anymore. But I do like the word rejoice. It's definitely one of those words that you can go in, stand atop an entire crowd at the highest pillar and just yell, "Rejoice, for the time of the Lord is at hand. It is now that we must go and bring forth the joy of the Lord to all the others that do not have it." Honestly, that speech could have gone in two different directions, and I'm glad it went in the direction I was honestly trying to go in. Yes. But joy, it's this, the joy of the Lord is not, it's not like the joy of the world. The joy of the world is a feeling. You feel it and then it's gone. But the joy of the Lord is, it's a state of being. To have the joy of the Lord is very, it's hard to put into words other than it's a state of being of this absolute, just, it's happiness, you know? You're able to be more peaceful than most people are. Will you ever not get frustrated? No, that's not how that works. Yeah, you're gonna get frustrated because the enemy is gonna constantly do everything in their power to frustrate you, upset you, or in some of the more extreme cases, execute you. But we have an advantage on our side because of the simple fact of even if we are killed, even if we are cast aside and used, we know that we have a place to go. We know that we have a home. A home that can never be taken away from us except if we ourselves relinquish it. And that peace that comes with that. It's hard to put into words because you feel this level of I'm not alone. I have an actual reason to live and to move forward. I have this reason for being, for existing, to sing, to dance, to play, to be. And it's nice. It's really nice. Because not everybody has that. And another thing is that God will also help put into perspective everything. With the power of God on your side, you're able to actually take a step back and look at everything from the perspective of eternity, not just. And it also in cases, oh my gosh, that thing pulls everything back in. Oh, okay, so the joy of the Lord it's a state of being. Just as serving God is also a state of being. It's not so much a decision, but you can decide to take on that state of being. So that becomes who and what you are. That becomes your reason. We're going to look at Psalms . Psalms chapter 35, verse 27, King James Version of the Bible. Let them shout for joy and be glad that favor my righteous cause. Yeah, let them say continually, let the Lord be magnified, which hath pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. And that's another reason that somebody that has the Holy Spirit and serves God can be happy, because God intends everything to be for your good. Should you accept that, but should you resign yourself to the role of an enemy, then that is your decision, and you won't be able to partake in the joy of the Lord. And everybody experiences the joy of the Lord, I would say, differently. I've seen some people when they're just overwhelmed with that joy that God can bring. They'll sing. Other people will dance. Me, I just I relax. And I just sit back. And I'm able to watch everything go down. But I experience joy differently than you. And yeah, I'll laugh. I will laugh like a... I'll laugh until I'm breaking into a coughing fit. Because that joy, it can even overwhelm me. It's something that we shouldn't strive for. Because the thing that we should be striving for is a closer relationship to God. The joy will come on its own. Even if you're in hard times and something bad had happened, God is able to allow you to take a look at, yeah, you may be going through this, but know that you're human and it's only temporary, and it makes it easier. Also, that's a really, really nice 8-bit son. Now we're going to fast forward to Psalms 118. That's chapter 118, verse number 24, King James Version of the Bible. This day which the Lord hath made, we will rejoice and be glad in it. We're going to fast forward again to Psalms chapter 126, verse 5, King James Version of the Bible. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy, which pays credence to what I had just... That's a cool looking ship. That's also a very dangerous ship, considering the fact that it's throwing a whole lot of ammunition at me. So, joy. Every day has the potential to save somebody or to end someone. And those that serve God should have the mentality of, I'm a representative of a king of the Most High, which is a mentality that I constantly practice to the best of my ability, because there are times where I get frustrated, there are times where I get upset, and there are times where I am not a bubbler of bubbling. No, I'm grumpy and very spiny, like a cactus. But then God allows me to take a step back and observe everything in perspective and just see He's there. I'm able to relax again and smile. And we can see, we're going to take a look at Proverbs now, chapter 17, verse number 22, King James Version of the Bible. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. And do you know why that is? When you're sad, when you're broken down, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to smile. All you want to do is just kind of lay there. That broken spirit can also be described in another word more modern in time. Depression. When a person becomes depressed, all the joy has left them. And with the depression, everything is very lackluster. Now we're going to take a look at Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse number 26, King James Version of the Bible. For God giveth to man that is good in his sight, wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner he giveth travail, to gather and to heap up, that he may give to him that is good before God. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit. And there's so many things mentioned in the Bible of joy. I'm going to say the exact number that I'm able to come up with. Okay, let's see. Oh gosh, I gotta do math. Hold on. Now it's time to pull out the calculator because. Okay, so let's see. This amount plus that amount, and we get 162 mentionings of joy in the Bible, from what I can see. In the Old Testament, there's 99, and in the New Testament, there's 63. Now, the reason there's 99 in the Old Testament and only 63 in the New Testament is because about 70% of the Bible is the Old Testament. That's roughly around 70% of the entire Bible. But the fact that there's 63 mentionings in the New Testament, which is the shorter half of it, the shorter remaining part, it's very, very important. So to go back to... Nope. No. Psalms chapter 21, verse 1, King James Version of the Bible. The king shall joy in thy strength, O Lord, and in thy salvation how greatly shall he rejoice. The joy of God. We can be filled with joy because we can take comfort in the fact that God is so much stronger than anything and everything that we have to face. He's so much greater than all of our problems. And that before him, our problems are little more than a speck of dust in a strong wind. Now we're going to look at Psalms chapter 5, verse 11, King James Version of the Bible. But let all those that put their trust in thee rejoice. Let them ever shout for joy, because thou defendest them. Let them also that love thy name be joyful in thee. And in Psalms, a lot of things in Psalms are mentioning joy. In fact, I think Psalms is where a lot of our mentionings of joy are mentioned. When somebody is saved, do you know what happens in heaven? I'm going to put it simply. When somebody is saved on earth, they turned away from Satan and everything that's of the world, and they turn towards God because they want salvation. Then all of the angels and all of the saints, to my knowledge, and that half, rejoice. Now, how do they rejoice? I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's like a whole bunch of applause that goes on. Like it's just an ocean of beings just applauding, like, yeah, they got saved. They are saved now. They are with God and therefore no longer need to fear death. Or maybe it's like just like a full-on party up there. And that's every single time just one person gets saved. Now, on the contrary, does something similar happen when somebody turns away from God? Does all of hell rejoice? Well, considering that hell is the reverse of heaven, instead of there being light everywhere, there's darkness everywhere, I would assume, yeah, they do rejoice when somebody does not turn to God. But just to go back to the original definition that I had pulled up. Oh, it cleared. Why did you clear? Alright, let's try that again. That's not what I was looking for. No. Bradley Cooper, okay. I don't know what you have to do with that, but... No. Oh wow, one of the first instances mentioning is joy in the Bible. 7 powerful verses, huh? Well, each verse is what you are able to... Yes, definition, thank you. Aha! Yes, this is... Okay, so the difference between joy and happiness is this. Being happy, that's an emotion. Joy is a state of being. And the feeling of great pleasure and happiness. And the synonyms to it are delight, jubilation, triumph, exultation, rejoicing, happiness, glee, exhilaration, how do I pronounce that? That word, exuberance, elation, euphoria, bliss, rapture, radiance, more enjoyment, gratification. I don't know what that word is. I can't pronounce that because that's French. I can't pronounce that. I can't pronounce that. Delight, treat, thrill, buzz. And its antonyms are misery, despair, trial, and tribulation. Thing that causes joy. Rejoice. Oh, man. So, that's a nice thing to keep in mind. Serving God is synonymous with having joy. In fact, one of the things that makes a servant of the Lord is the ability to bounce back from things and rejoice even in times of great trial. Now, with me, I rejoice in the Lord and I get happy. In fact, one of the things that you notice, if you ever have a religious, anything of God in conversation with me, I get so excited and so energetic that it seems completely different from how I normally am, because I'm normally very, very straightforward. We got to get this done. This work it's got to get done. And I'm very focused on getting any kind of work done, that people don't really see me all excited to get anything done. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness, according unto the multitude of thy tender measures, blot out my transgressions, wash me thoroughly from mine iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin. That is in Psalms chapter 51, verses 1 through 2. And it's upon that also adds to the joy of someone. The joy of the Lord. Because it's that knowledge, that knowing that you're redeemed. That you don't have to work as hard to impress anybody, because all you need to do is love God and keep in mind that you're a servant of the Lord. You're a servant of God. And that feeling of relaxing, it makes you happy. Where you don't have to behave according to normal social constructs. You can be happy and be confident that God is with you always. That even in your hardest struggle, in your hardest times, you're not alone. You are not alone. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to every one that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. That is in Romans chapter 1, verse 16, King James Version of the Bible. Actually, I could have did this whole video on the gospel. But to see the word joy kind of take a dip in the 90s, which makes sense because the 90s were all about honestly, I really don't know what it was. I guess it was just about kind of like being cool, but that was the 80s too. But the 80s also had a lot of weird things going on in that. Not nearly as weird as the 70s, but it was still pretty. I mean, you remember parachute pants? Anybody remember that? Yeah, yeah. My gosh, those pants. But nevertheless, glory be to God and blessings be upon every single one of you. For it is an honor that I get to do this. And I get to do this, I get to sit here, I get to talk to you all, and I get to break something down. And it's usually a different thing every video. Sometimes in one video it's just a continuation of the previous one. But I say glory be to God and blessings be upon every single one of you. It is my joy and my pleasure to stand here before you all. And this is the Silver Watchman signing out.